Hi, it's Morgan from the CheekyHomemaker.com, and today we are talking about a weekly savings plan. You guys, this is the key to staying out of debt. The key to staying out of debt. If you've been following my budgeting series, then by now you already have your weekly budget that's customized to all of your expenses. You know exactly how much money you need to stay out of debt each week. But what about those larger expenses that don't come in a monthly statement? The yearly expenses, the gift giving, the things you want to save up for. That's what we're talking about today. So if you haven't seen those videos, I'll link them for you. Make sure you watch them, because saving money every week towards a large purchase will not do you a whole lot of good if you're racking up credit card debt and paying your utility bills late, or just kind of nickel and diming yourself to death. So make sure you won't want to miss those other videos. The next step is to make sure you have enough money for the more irregular bills and the larger items you'd like to purchase. So we live on a single income, and although we have been blessed with many fortunate things in our life, it takes financial planning and budgeting for us to maintain our finances. We are in Southern California. It's expensive here, and we have no debt other than our home loan. So that's something that we are also chipping away at as much as possible. But we don't carry credit card debt, although we do use credit cards. They are paid off weekly. And I've really kind of figured out a way to stay on top of our finances. So this financial series I'm doing is sharing with you exactly how I do that. And for weekly savings, some of the categories you're going to want to set aside money for these are things like your car registration. Depending on where you live, here in SoCal, it's a yearly expense and it's high. So if it surprises you, it can go on a credit card, and that kind of starts debt. It can end up being a snowball effect. Another thing is property taxes. If you're lucky enough to own your home and it's not already included in your mortgage payment, then that's something you'll want to set some money aside for. Then of course there's things you want to save for, such as a retirement plan, a savings plan for something like a nest egg, a savings plan for a large purchase. That could be anything from a $300 piece of electronics up to a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 vehicle. And also gift giving. Gift giving's a big one. A lot of people get in debt around Christmas time and then slowly pick up debt here and there for different birthdays or other gift giving holiday things that they observe in their family. So gift giving's a huge one. Basically anything that you find you're not sure where you're going to get the money for, that's what I'm talking about in this video. So I just rambled off a few ideas for you guys, but how do you ultimately sit down and figure out exactly what things you need to be saving for in your finances? Well, there's a few ways to do that. The first one is off of memory, and you can just kind of think about, what are the things that are a little more expensive that I have to pay for every year, bi-yearly, every Christmas, whatever it is, and make a list of all those. Another way you can do it is to actually sit down with a fine-tooth comb and go through 1 to 3 years of your personal finances and see all of the items that aren't in your regular budget because they're those annual or more rare expenses. And then the third option is you can basically just be surprised this year. If you're just starting a budget and it seems overwhelming to you to have to comb through 1 to 3 years worth of finances with a fine-tooth comb, you can always just start your weekly savings plan now as bills come in. So as something comes in, you'll add it to your weekly budget. I recommend a combination of the three. So if you have the time to go through your past expenses, by all means, that's the most effective way to do this. And then sit down and make a list from memory of anything else you are aware of. And if it's not a complete list and you get surprised by something, just add it into your budget as you go. The last thing I want you to do is be stressing about setting everything up to the point where you don't get started. Getting started is the key, and you can adjust as you go from there. So once you know what you need a weekly savings plan for, next you need to figure out how much to save. If it's an annual expense, it's quite simple. You just divide it by the 52 weeks in the year, and whatever number you get, that's what you set aside every week, and you just work it into the normal budget that you're hopefully already doing for your utilities and other expenses. If it's an expense that you are aware is coming but you don't have the bill in hand, then chances are you don't have 52 weeks before you need to pay it. You're going to have a shorter amount of time, because let's say it's due in 4 months. So you take the 4 months and multiply that by 4 weeks a month. And now you have 16 weeks that you're going to be saving for that bill. So whatever the total amount is, divide it by the 16 weeks that you have to save for it, and that's the amount you need to set aside every week. Once the bill comes, you will readjust the amount you're setting aside every week for that bill by dividing the total by 52, because you'll have a full year before it comes around again. And if you know that it's a biannual bill, then of course just do the math accordingly. Adjust it to how many weeks you have between now and when the bill is due, and then when the bill comes in, adjust it for however many weeks you have between paying it and when the bill's going to come again. Now, what do you do for something that you don't have a bill in hand at all? Something that you don't really know how much it's going to cost you? Christmas is a big one for this. Birthdays are another one. My family, all of our birthdays are in May, so I call it Christmas in May, because it's another large expense that comes around. What you need to do is sit down and estimate how much money you're going to need for whatever expense it is that you're trying to save for. Just get it as close as you can, and when that expense comes, you'll be glad that you have something saved towards it, even if it's not exactly the amount that you need. Let's take Christmas, for example. If you sit down and you make a list of all the people you buy gifts for, and approximately how much you aim to spend on each of those people. So you'll want to break it down by person, not just by, oh yeah, there's 10 people and I spend like $40 on each of them. Generally, that's not the case. You'll probably have people that you spend more money on and people that you spend less money on. Sit down with a pen and paper, figure all that out, and total it up, and that's how much money you need to save for Christmas. And if you divide it between how many weeks are between the time you're watching this video and Christmas, then you'll get how much money you need to be saving per week. That number may or may not surprise you. It's quite a large expense to buy a lot of Christmas presents, especially when you have a large family. So you might need to reassess how much money you can actually afford to set aside every week for that, and then don't overspend. Once you've committed to how much you can set aside for Christmas, then that needs to be your Christmas budget, and you can do homemade gifts or acts of service as gifts. There's all sorts of other things you can do other than spending that dollar. The same goes for birthdays. You'll want to figure out who you buy birthday gifts for, approximately how much you spend. Don't forget, if you have kids, they get invited to little Susie and little Jesse's birthday party, and you have to bring a gift with you when you go. So just try to work it all in, and then you'll want to total all that up and divide it up by week also. Now, for birthdays, you'll probably start off a little bit behind. Maybe you'll want to be buying birthday gifts out of pocket while you start that fund going, because let's say you decide that you need $1,000 a year for birthdays, and you start setting money aside, and you have maybe you've set aside, I don't know, $100 in that account because you just started it, and here comes your mom's birthday and you normally spend $200 on her. Well, you can either wipe that account out and start from scratch, or you can leave that $100 in your account and you can spend that $200 out of pocket if you find you can afford it, to try to kind of build that account up so that then you can start drawing from it as need be. Those are the items that it gets a little tricky because they are expenses that happen throughout the year. So just do your best, and as long as you are aiming to set that money aside and keep it growing, you'll work it out. Now, the obvious next question is, where do I put all of this money I'm setting aside, and how do I keep track of it? Well, if I drone on to you for much longer in this video, you're probably going to tune me out. I know that's how my brain works if I get too much information all at once. So I am breaking this weekly savings plan video up into two parts for you. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and sit down, make those lists, figure out those finances of exactly what weekly savings items you need, and I'll be back with you soon, within a week, and I will give you the second video. If you're not watching this when I've aired it live, that second video will already be linked for you guys. So look up in the cards and it'll also be below this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share my videos. It's the best way you can support me so I can keep bringing you free content. I'm at thecheekyhomemaker.com, as well as on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram with @thecheekyhomemaker is my handle where you can find me. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Bet you guys are going to buy less Christmas gifts this year after this.